Hey witches, Thoughtforms, Familiars, and Magical and Elemental Servitors. That's the topic of this video. A lovely idea from my sister in Hecate, Leslie. So thank you for that concept and idea and topic. So what is a thought form? What is a familiar, and what is a magical or elemental servitor? It is a form, an essence, or a spirit that is created by the witch to carry out certain things, certain tasks and assignments that you give it, and kind of program it what to do. In traditional times, traditionally and in the ancient times, they called these spirits that are created by witches familiars. Sometimes they were called demons in the more of a derogatory sense, but they were called also familiars. And in a more modern, like metaphysics and modern witchcraft, they're called thought forms. And Magickal Servitors was another name of them. So what they are is they're like a spiritual essence or a spiritual being that is created from the mind and spiritual energy of a witch or a practitioner of magic, and given its own life force and its own sort of limited consciousness to do what it has been told and created to do. So you can create these things to carry out certain tasks and to do spells for you. But then it's not really a spell. It's creating a familiar to do what you want. How do you do that? What you do is, it really depends how you want to do it. But you are going to create a ritual for yourself, because I'm not going to tell you how to do a ritual, because to me rituals should always be self-created. So I'm not going to tell you how to do the ritual to create a familiar or a thought form, but I will tell you kind of the inner process of what you need to be doing, and then you just choose the exoteric way that you do it, or the ritual format that you do it, because you're going to be able to know what's going to be more powerful for you and most effective for you. But now the inner process of how it's done with your mind and all that is going to be the same for every person. So what you do is, or similar enough with every person or with every witch. So what you do to create a thought form is, you, in your ritual setting, you will focus and visualize basically a body, an astral, spiritual body for the being and the thought form that you're creating. Now this can look however you want. It doesn't have to be in the shape of a human or anything like that, or anything that even exists physically. You can create a thought form to take any shape that you want, but you are going to want a clearly defined visualization shape. And it's not going to be imagination, y'all. It's going to be a visualization where you visualize it real time, forming in front of you. So you just choose a shape for it. Usually you want to probably choose a shape or a body for it that's going to be in alignment with what you're trying to do, or with what you need it to do. So you'll be the best person to decide the shape it needs to be and the form it needs to take. You can also do this by kind of similar to making a spirit doll, where you will put the thought form, you will choose for its body an actual physical object, which can be a doll, or it can be a just any other object like a crystal or a talisman that you've made or something like that, where you can just make that be the body, and then still visualize and do the ritual where you're putting the thought form into that object. But predominantly this is done without any type of physical body. And I'll tell you why. It's because usually when a witch creates a thought form or a familiar, they're going to be sending it out into the world to do tasks and to carry things out. So predominantly that's what thought forms are used for, but you can also use them to bind into objects, which actually on the full moon, y'all, I'm going to be doing a ritual where I create a thought form familiar, and I do bind it into a crystal talisman for one of my clients to do specific things for her, because she's going to want that familiar and thought form with her for a certain task it needs to be doing to protect her. So it's like making a spirit that will then be around you, or be around her, because it's in that object that she will then wear or carry with her. So you can create them for that purpose, or you can also, or in that way, with a physical object as the vessel for it. But you can also just create thought forms without a body, and those types you can send out into the world to do things and then return to you. Or if you're creating it in the case of if you're trying to curse someone or harm somebody with it, you will create it and tell it to go out and do that thing and never come back to you, but you'll just always be there doing that thing. And this is where the cases of like demonic hauntings and demonic activity, or what they call demonic hauntings and demonic activities, is probably actually a witch created a thought form to go and torment someone. So it's not really a demon, even though that's what they're calling it. It's really a thought form that can actually just be uncreated and destroyed if you know how to do it, or even just banished, or even sent back to the witch who sent it. I mean, there's many options you can do if you know the kind of knowledge of thought forms and how to control them and use them and all that, which I'm not going to get on to that. But basically how you create one is you will just visualize, like I said, a body for it, or have a physical body that you've chosen, and you will visualize the form of it entering into the object. Excuse me, y'all. I don't know why I burp on my videos. I don't even burp normally. It's only when I'm recording for some reason. So sorry about that. But you basically want to visualize the form of it, however it's going to be, manifesting real time in your mind, in your mind's eye, into the physical world. So it's like you're superimposing your visualization into the physical world real time in that moment of the ritual that you're creating it. And it's really that simple as far as giving it the body into the physical world. But now, in order to program it that it will even be able to function, you're going to have to, and to give it a life force, you're going to have to then focus on your intentions of what you want it to do. And also in the same way of the visualizing of creating its form, you're going to project those same mental powers and mind energy into the thought form. Once its body has been formed with your mind's eye and you're visualizing that in your ritual area, you then visualize and project your intentions into that visualized body. See, a lot of these things with magic, y'all, has to do with visualizing. It sounds really so simple when you think about it like that, or when you hear it like that. But really, that's how it's done. And that's why imagination skills and visualization skills are so important to have and to be developed. And that's also why they're so suppressed in children and stuff in the modern society, because they don't want you having powers and these abilities. So they just make it seem like it's something fake, or to just dismiss it as like play or whatever. But really, these are like fundamental skills to actually doing magic and making it work. So you're going to visualize these things manifesting before you in the physical realm and sending your intentions into it. And that's really going to program the thought form to do the task that you want it to do. And then to give it a life force, there's different ways of doing that. You can give it offerings. You can give it blood offerings. That's one of the more powerful ways of giving it like a more of an ability to affect the physical world, is by giving it blood offerings. And I don't mean like killing something or whatever. I mean like you can offer it your own blood, or the blood of the person who's having you create it for them consensually. You don't want to be sacrificing animals and all that. I mean, if that's your religion, then, because I know that in Santeria and voodoo and religions like that, they do sacrifice animals, really. And I mean, I'm not even going to say my opinions on that, y'all. But just however you want to do it, create your blood offerings like that, either from yourself or from an animal, depending on your beliefs and practices. Or you can give it offerings of objects or food or drinks or wine or whatever that will fuel, because whatever energy you put into the thought form is going to be the energy that's put into it, and it's going to be there as the life force of the thought form. So when you're giving it offerings and stuff, that's essentially what you're doing, is you're giving it more life. Just like when we eat, it's the same thing. Like you eat and you have more energy, and your life is more, what's that word? You have more life and vitality when you eat. So that's what you're doing when you're giving food offerings and drink offerings and other offerings to a thought form or familiar. You're giving it more life. So that's going to be another major thing to do. When you've already created a thought form, you want to keep giving it offerings. If it's going to be something that you have continuing, like if you're having that thought form and familiar continue to keep doing things and continue on with its tasks, you need to keep giving it life, because these things they're not physical. They're a spiritual being, and spiritual beings, if they want to act in the physical world, then they need to be given physical energy. And so it's going to take offerings like that. And like I said, blood is one of the more powerful ones. Like if you give it blood, the amount of time, the amount of times that you have to give it offerings will be less than if you're just giving it food and drink offerings. You're going to have to do that more regularly if you're doing it that way. But if you're giving it blood, you could go for like more longer periods of time before you have to give it a new offering of more blood. Which usually, if you give it a blood offering, then that familiar will just be there indefinitely with a powerful life force until you either destroy it or like bind it into an object or something like that, and in some other way like stop it from doing what it's supposed to be doing. So blood is a really powerful tool. I'll probably talk about blood magic in another video and just like devote a whole video to that, but I'll keep that separate. So that is how you make thought forms, and that's how you program them, and that's how you give them life. And the way that you will send them out to do their tasks is going to take place at the end of your ritual. Once you're done creating it and giving it a life force and programming it with the desires and intentions that you want, you will then send it out, and that's easily just done by telling it to go with the authority and the willpower and the visualization skills. You will send it out to do its task. And then also, just like with the witch's pyramid, when you're doing a spell, like I told y'all in that video with the witch's pyramid, it is the foundation for all magic, not just spells. So with the same thing with the thought form, you want to keep it out of your mind after you send it out, and don't then continuously think about it after you send it out to do its task, and don't talk about it with anyone. Thought forms are more susceptible to other people's thoughts and emotions than a spell is. I don't know why, but they just are. So you especially want to keep silent about your thought forms that you're creating and your familiars that you're creating, because they're just more susceptible to other people's thoughts and feelings. Now, but for yourself, you don't want to talk about it or think about it after you send it out, because that's going to kind of draw it back to you again by thinking about it in your mind and stuff. You're going to summon it back to you. You're going to summon its energy and presence back to you. So you don't want to do that, especially if you are sending it out into the world to do stuff. You just need to let it do its thing and not bother it by thinking about it and stuff, because that's going to draw it back to you. However, if it's the type of familiar that you've bound into an object or a talisman or something, then it's fine to think about it, because you're gonna want it near you anyways for whatever reason that you created the object for. It's fine to think about it on that in that case. So there you go, y'all. That is how you do thought forms. That's how thought forms work. That's what thought forms are. That's what familiars are and magical servitors are. That's how you create them and give them life. When you're done with a thought form, in the circumstance that you've created one to do a certain thing and then it does it and it's done and you don't want the thought form anymore, or you don't want the familiar anymore, the way to kind of destroy it or uncreate it is to, then at this point you do want to think about it, and you do want to draw its presence back to you through the same skills of visualization and controlling your mind's thoughts and energies and all that. You're going to summon its presence back to you, and then you're going to either take the energy into yourself, back into you, or you can send it into the earth to kind of just go back into nature in a way, or whatever. Or you can send it into objects, or like whatever you want to do with it, really. But the main key of uncreating the familiar or whatever, because really it's just an energy, that you've programmed with like a sort of limited consciousness to do your task. So really, all you have to do is just deprogram it. Just take whatever intention that you had it do, just unprogram it, take that out. And then it's just energy again, and then you can do whatever you want with that energy. So that's how you uncreate them. And you can send these thought forms to do like anything really. So it's not limited in on that note. You can send it to do whatever you want really. Just as long as you do it right, it will do it. And you can give it time limits, like you can tell it, do this task by this time limit, and it will do it by then. You really want to be specific in how you program your thought forms and your familiars, because like I said, they're just energy, and you are the one that's giving it a limited consciousness to do what you want. So in that sense, you're like completely responsible for what it does and how it thinks and all that. So you really do want to be completely specific with exactly what you want it to do and exactly the time limits and all that. So make sure you get that right as well. So yeah, that's basically how thought forms and familiars work, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and end this video now with that, but I'll be back with more topics. Hell to the witches and blessings.